So I wanted to make a little video showing you how to use Procreate. If you just got Procreate from as a gift over the holidays with your iPad or with your Apple Pencil or with any of that. And then you really want to use it, but it's complicated and you're not really sure how to use all the features. And then all the other videos just go way too much into depth. And you just want to get started now, so you just want a crash course on the basic features on how to use it. And this is the video for you. So first you're going to want to download Procreate and click on it, and it's going to take you to this screen, and it's going to have 4 example pictures. And if you click on an example picture like here, I'm clicking on Blue Monaco, it'll take you to it, and you can zoom in and zoom out how you would pinching with your fingers. And then here, in this little corner with the color at the end, that's your color picker. And there's multiple ways to pick colors through with the color wheel, and you can go around and you can change its vibrancy or hue. The classic, which you use these sliders, or touch it over here, or the harmonic, where it picks a color and a complementary color. Then you also have values, where you can adjust the value, saturations, brightness, or the RGB values themselves. And you can get the hexadecimal value and input it that way too. Okay, so for us, we're just going to pick a red color here. And then over here, it takes you automatically to the brush tool. And then we're just gonna brush like this. And that's how you use the brush tool. You just move it around how you would use a normal brush. And then the finger tool, that's the smudge tool, the one that looks like a finger, and you can blend in what you just made, or you can blend in the house. And then the eraser tool just erases. Let's say you don't like what was going on, just erase it. And then over here on the left, you'll have the slider tool, which adjusts the sizes of your tools. So you can erase even more, or erase a tiny bit amount. And here's the opacity, where you can erase only half of something if you like. Or you can smudge half of something, like half the smudge. Or you can have half the paint, and you can layer those together to create effects. And then let's say you don't like any of this, like this doesn't look good at all. You just hit back, the little back arrow, and you can undo everything you did. Let's say I actually like some of it and I go forward. You can do it like that. You can just redo what you did. But don't make another move, because then that limits what you can do after that. So let's say we want to draw another snake thing. Now let's say we decided we wanted to change the color of this from red to green. How would we do that? We would go over here, and then we would pick green and then go over it. But this doesn't really work that well, does it? Because it's still showing underneath, and you have to be very precise to just do it on that existing snake. So what you can do instead of that is use the tool called layers, or you can create a separate layer for something. So here you go. Let's make an S. And then let's say we decided we wanted to change that to let's let's say we made an ST. And let's say we decided we didn't like the T later. You can just erase the T and leave all the detail underneath. And let's say you added another layer and you made this red plus. And then let's say you thought the plus should be underneath the S. You can just drag it and drop it and move it. So all the layers do is just act as layers on top of layers on top of layers that you can interact with individually. And that's very useful for things like smudging or drawing or adding effects to it. Let's erase both of these. Let's decide we don't like either of these. And then let's just make a circle. If you make a circle and hold it, it automatically creates an ellipse for you. And if you do 2 fingers, it'll make a perfect circle. I let go a little too early. Here you go. And then you can drag the color from over there here and it'll automatically fill it. So now we have a little circle here. And let's say we only want to interact with the circle and not any other pixels. You can click on the alpha lock to do that. And then we'll pick a white color. We'll make this smaller. And then you can do an effect here. And let's say we want to add a shadow over here. You can put a shadow here. And it doesn't interact with anything outside of it. So you can perfectly color in the layer, and that'll make painting on Procreate so much easier. And then you can use the smudge tool to smudge it together. And now we're starting to get sort of gradient effect. This isn't the right smudge tool to use for this, but it makes the point when you look at it like this. You can see how you can have like this sort of effect here. Or you have like a highlight somewhere and then like a non-highlight over there. Moon. And then if you double click on your brush, you have all your different brushes here and they all act differently. So let's say we wanted to place some sort of effect here, an industrial effect. We will use an industrial brush. Let's use wasteland. Let's make this larger, lower the opacity, put a little bit of wasteland on there, use a different color, make a pinker one, use a pinker wasteland here, go over here, use a darker one, a darker wasteland here, and now we have like a sort of moon effect here going. And then with this arrow tool, you can just move it around if you like. You can increase its size or not, and you can rotate it. And you can do this for any layer. And let's say you wanted to select only half the layer. You can go down, you can go over here, over here, over here, and now you've selected half the layer. And you can paint on this one layer if you'd like. You can just make this entire thing just pure black if you would like. Or undo it. And there's multiple ways to select. You can go freehand, automatic where you just touch it, rectangle, which is a rectangle, ellipse, which is an ellipse. You can choose to add or remove layers like this. So it'll just be like a circle thing in the middle to make a sort of eye. And then those are all of those. And then the smudge tool, you can also use the brush library on the smudge tool and the eraser tool. And then finally, you have the adjustments you can make, where you can adjust the hue of something. And you can decide, what if I want this to be a green moon? What if I want it to be bright green? What if I want it to be gray, brighter, black? You can decide. There's also color balance, where you can adjust certain colors specifically. There's a gradient map, where you can automatically map it to certain colors. There's Gaussian blur, which just blurs it. I'll remove alpha lock so you can see Gaussian blur. It just blurs it. Motion blur adds a motion blur going in a certain direction, and you can pick it. And then there's perspective blur, which just blurs it at perspective. Noise adds noise. Sharpen sharpens the color, which also adds noise. Bloom, glitch, halftone, and chromatic aberrations are just little effect tools that you probably won't really use. Liquify, it's like the liquify inside Adobe Photoshop, where you can move whatever you were doing. So we'll select the background. You can make your layers visible or invisible so you can work on the layers below it. And then select the layer that you want to work on. Use liquify, and then you can adjust it. Let's say I thought that her head should be bigger. You can just increase the size and use the size and pressure to adjust how big you want it. Let's say you want his head to be smaller. Let's say you wanted a twirl for like a lollipop or something. Let's say you thought this should be slightly to the left, or this should be slightly to the right. And that's just how you make little adjustments or effects with this. And reconstruct just turns it back to how it was before. You probably won't use crystals or edge or any of that. It just creates these little edge effects. And then that's pretty much it. And then here for add is you can insert photos, take photos, add text. Let's say you wanted to add text of something. Here you go, texting. And you can move it and you can add your own effects to the text. Animation assist is if you want to use animations. Drawing guide is if you want these little squares to help you, and you can just take them off. Reference is if you want a reference photo within it. And then you can just share. You can pick which file format you want to share it as. You can have a time-lapse replay of what everything you did to share on social media if you like. And then you have preferences if you want to use those with your Apple Pencil. If you don't have one, it doesn't really matter. And those are just the basics of Procreate. Now have fun